Hello everyone at Leg. This is Rob Top and I'm here with Avrendri. Is that right?
That's good enough for me.
We had a little discussion on how to pronounce the Welsh name, but and so, but I'm going to call you Ads from now on, and you're happy with that, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe.
Cool.
But
And
that's fine.
this video we're doing the street ball or street brawl, what we're going to call it.
Yeah, I think we can probably put a leggy swig on it at some point. But it is not my original concoction. This is an adaptation, which I think will work quite nicely for a side comp, which we might be running in the near future. So I'll hand you back over to Smith for just guiding us through the team building process for this one because it's a little bit specific. So first we're going to be finding our underworld team.
Mhm.
Of course, every good team needs a name.
We're going to call them Street Fighting Gobbos. Not is it? It ain't a custom team, is it?
This is not a
No,
custom
no, no.
team. We're just going to run it with the normal 1000 TV. We are going to use it all up. So we'll have a level 2 and enhanced stadium,
Right.
and we're going to have a full capacity of goblins, so a full 12. We're going to run with 2 throwers and a troll, all 3 units of which will never meet the field, not intentionally at least. But they make up a very nice amount of money without us having to buy and then sell. We are going to take 1 reroll, but only the one, and
Mhm.
we're capped on that.
Okay.
The only other way we can get more of those is later on in the comp when you can get them via inducements,
Okay.
but we're not going to get any through the roster.
Are you
So
allowed the cheerleaders and appos and stuff like that?
no, those are also off the table.
Okay.
Street ball, anything goes. So if the fans want to rough things up, then that's going to happen. So we're going to jump to the club. We're going to level it up once, and we are going to find the Astrogranite enhancement. And then, if you want to put in a sponsorship, you can. That's completely optional.
I never do that. Do you do it?
But otherwise, this is us good to go. So obviously, feel free to name your guys. But this is how the team needs to look. And
So did you say
with that,
the throwers and the troll are not going to get used at all?
correct.
So we
They're
can delete
gonna
them after game one, yeah?
Correct. You
Yeah.
can if you wish. I would actually recommend not to, just because you can't get up to the 16 roster with just goblins. You're actually capped on Underworld to 12 goblins.
Mhm.
So otherwise, we would just have 16 of them already. But this works for the sake of zeroing our cash from game one. I don't think you can earn any money on Street Ball. It's not intended. So we only replenish, or we don't have extra reserves to start off a team. So that's the idea. So we're gonna just set up the game now. I've sent an invite over on Steam, and hopefully we can move straight into this pretty quickly.
All right.
So I'll just go and find our teams. For me, that's right at the far right hand side. Probably is for you as well, actually, if you just made the team.
Just far right hand side, say.
Yeah, if you head left, you head through all the CPU teams. If you head right, you get all of your own teams.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
your last made-up team will be the one you need. You
Okay.
can narrow it down if you really want to by choosing the races, but
All right. We're good. You're
you
1580
can. Oh, I
chaos.
have to find it for you actually, don't I? Okay, it's curious.
Oh, for some reason, I got to pick your team.
Oh, I'm choosing your team. I don't know why this is happening the way it is. It's kind of curious.
What's your team called? It's going to be an 800 TV one, isn't it? Oh,
Yeah, mine's it's a thingy,
it's a thingy.
and yours is Street Fighting Gobbos. I
Yeah.
think we're good.
Oh, you've done it.
Oh, I see. I have to click next. Okay. Interesting. We're learning things about other things than just the comp at this moment. We're figuring out friendlies work.
There we go. That's how you do it on a friendly game.
Oh dear. So within the actual comp itself, I think we'll be choosing on a poll between 1 minute turns or 2 minute turns. Bear in mind that we're only running 7 players on the actual field, but we have a bit of setup for this one, so we'll just set up a little bit of extra time just so that we don't run out of time to explain things. It'd be easier if we do that without having to press pause too often, because otherwise we can't see everything.
Okay.
So there won't be any inducements for this, but if we do go to inducements in the actual comp, what we'll be doing is we'll be banning everything that isn't goblins and rerolls. So only 2 things you can buy. No star players, no extra apothecaries, nothing of the sort. And the goblins that you can buy can't be leveled up, and they're just to make up the numbers that you're missing. Which hopefully exactly bring you up to 12, irrespective of what happens. The exceptions to which will be if both teams are underneath that cap. So
No star players allowed, obviously. This is
exactly
the street thing.
you have to make them yourself. And the clay we'll use for that is strictly goblins. So we're going to have a setup in a bit, and getting from this, irrespective of which team is the kicking or the receiving team, we're going to be setting up so that the goblins are all on the field, and we have the troll and the throws off. And we are going to have 4 goblins set up at either side of the hashes. Now the hashes, I'm going to kick the ball here and give Smithy an opportunity to try and collect this. Okay. So make sure we get our throwers off. Our goblins are on the field. Our throwers off. And right, so as you can see from me setting up here, my objective with these unused goblins, which brings us down to the roster, the official roster of Street Brawl, down to 7. I'm going to get them as far out of the way as possible. And there's 2 reasons for this. They shouldn't come in play, and we don't really want them to interact with the kickoff. If they do so, it's going to make a bit of a mess for the process. So we're just gonna keep them as far away from as possible.
So the pitch is just in these dotted lines on the sides, isn't it? We're not using the 4 squares on the 2 edges.
Which gives us basically a play width of 7 units. Now, bearing in mind that the kit can easily scatter outside of that bounds, we do have special rules for that. And we'll get to that shortly. But for now, I'll just confirm up my defensive setup. We're gonna basically now go through Smithy's process of doing pretty much the same thing. I fully expect at some point for someone to line up an entire 7 frontman with this setup.
It's got to be done.
It's gonna be done at some stage.
But I'm not.
I mean defensively as well.
Oh, okay.
I mean, especially if someone gets some strength level ups, you never know.
Yeah, actually, you need somebody back to receive the ball, so you could be outnumbered straight away.
So defensively, it could be a good option depending on the situation.
Okay, so I'm confirming my setup.
Yep, looking good from here. So I'm going to make the kick, and I'm going to kind of hope that it actually goes out of play here, just for the purpose of being able to show what happens.
Yep.
As it happens, we're already losing a turn. That's fantastic. And the ball hasn't even gone out of play. So, with this happening, any player that is not in a tackle zone is permitted to go to this.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose the nearest one. You can choose the one that's furthest away.
Yep.
The receiving team here has the license to run out of play only as far as where the ball has scattered to, and only on the side that it's scattered to.
Yeah.
This row where the ball currently is, and it will continue to increase if it scatters further and further away from the actual centre of the pitch.
So where the ball is that entire row now in game, is it? Or
That
was
is not in play just yet, but
right?
it is in play for you to pick up the ball.
Okay.
We have 2 rounds, and that doesn't include the right. The right is inconsequential of this, but so one of the things you have is you have the license to go straight after the ball and not make any blocks. You then are able to bring the ball in play without having to incur me being able to play back. So, as it is, you started with the blocks. So, we are live, and the ball and that row is live where we currently are.
Okay.
So, why is this important? Well, that means that the surfing on the for you it'll be your east or right hand side as you're looking. For me, it's my left or west.
Yep. So
And
surfing is this line here, and you're
surfing is now an extra line across, so it's harder to surf. Okay. If that makes sense.
right. So I'm going to try picking the ball up, which is outside the zone.
And you have to come back in.
Yep.
Before you can move, as it were, again.
Okay. So just like that, I can pick
now,
any of them 3 squares. I take it to come back in.
Yeah, you can now move in any direction, but you can't go back out
Yeah.
of the central. You can't go out of the centre now that you've brought it back in. And also, so doing, if there were any players that were stranded beyond that line, as in outside the hashes, they would now be considered surfed.
Right.
And that's why it's important to bear in mind that when the timing of certain things. So at this point, we're kind of back to normal a little bit, and I think we'll just have a little bit of a head about.
So obviously this is a demo thing, so we're trying to get some surfs going. Oh, there's your one wee roll gone. Oh no, ain't. Good man. Okay, so if you surf one of my players, so if I just chuck someone there for a minute.
Yep.
In fact, if I get you to surf the ball, it might be better.
Sure. We can attempt. So, in a usual circumstance, you could have a player, say, go around the back and apply the extra surfing. That sometimes will be required in order to create a surf in this game mode, because if you were to push upwards, you have the option of moving against the side.
Yeah, I've got the option of moving back. Oh no, you can decide, can't you? So
yeah. So in this case, the surf is actually done,
okay,
and this is a perfect example why it's messy, and needs to be considered carefully.
Yeah.
So in this case, the ball has been surfed out, but the player is still holding the ball.
Yeah.
So that ball is now where that ball is. So the only thing that we can really do is the surfed player has to throw the ball back in.
Okay.
That is the only option available. There are other versions of what could have happened here. Obviously, a knockdown could have occurred. The ball could have been scattered, in which case the ball is scattered and where it lands is where the play ends up being live.
Yeah.
That means that also the surf technically has to be observed later, because the player might well be within unsurfed grounds when the ball is live, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But the player has technically been surfed and therefore has to remain surfed.
So you're going to have to move the rest of your players in your team, and then I've got to throw the ball, I take it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at this point, I would be at liberty to also serve this guy.
Yeah.
And now he is technically served as well.
Alright, we can go through both scenarios and what happens.
Yeah.
With the ball, without the ball. Okay.
Yep. So at this point, I think the objective would just be to throw it into the centre of the field. There is a technical centre, it's directly behind.
So look,
it's where the person I've just moved is, within that row, would technically be centre.
The thing I see wrong with this is I'm not going to get a go this
Interceptions.
turn. If I throw the ball back in straight away, that's going to be a turnover.
Correct. So here's what we do. The ball
Right.
gets thrown back in.
Do you want me to throw the ball in now?
Yep. If
Okay.
you throw it back into the spot that I showed, and at this point I'm to not intercept, so I skip. This is where we get the fun times, because if we get a 1, then it doesn't work. So at this point, I end turn immediately. I just end the turn.
Okay, so now it's my turn. So these two guys have been surfed. So they're
Yep.
technically.
They now have to.
I won't try to dodge them because I could fail the dodges. Yeah. So I'll do other stuff and then
Not
dodge them
immediately, you
afterwards.
don't have to, but you should try and move them when you've completed the rest of your actions.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they just need to simply move away from where the edge of the playable surface is.
Okay. So let's try to find another. Let's try to find another scenario. Let's just dodge them out. And there you go. That's why you don't
Yeah.
do it first.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, technically, I would be able to play the ball just as you would have been able to if you'd been able to dodge
Yeah.
through.
So this is normal play now.
Yeah, from this point of view.
Okay. Do you want to try scoring and then we go through um another drive.
Yeah, sure. Of course, those dodges work.
Yeah, of course. So you've got a stalling rule as well.
This is correct. So,
Right.
the player that I moved is 1 GFI away from scoring range. If he was to receive a catch on this turn, then he isn't obliged to score yet. If he was 1 position further up, however, which is reachable next turn by the players in my front row of my cage, then if they had the ball in that position, then they would be obliged to score. The anti-stalling rule is to try and prevent scores from stagnating because everyone likes to see scoring. So that is the objective here, is to see that happen. Not anything too complicated. It's just I was checking I wasn't going out of play by moving there. That's something also you have to bear in mind, is that even if there isn't a tackle zone to be had, you still need to be mindful of not going off the field of play. So at this point, with me ending turn, you should be able to see that this player is actually on GFI out of range. I should have passed it. That's typical. But
Okay.
let's assume that he could have done it without a GFI.
Yeah.
If he, for any reason, fails to score on the turn of which he is eligible to score,
Right.
he incurs a penalty of losing his SPP for the game, and he also suffers a straight injury roll, which we have a set up for that, because obviously when you have an injury roll, you can roll a casualty roll. We just kind of do that a bit directly just to save time. We don't really need to see that process because we can explain it on the Discord. But for this case, if I was to fail to score and my opponent notices that it was a stall, then they're perfectly within the rights to claim it and point it out. Just take a screenshot. That's all you need to do. You should be able to see both as the opposition and as the person who is stalling the distance that you can achieve reaching for the touchdown to be scored.
Just
So
by
you
clicking
can
on the
just
player.
hover on the click on the player with the ball, take a screenshot, and if there's no GFIs in range and they don't score with that player, whether it's caused by a turnover because they get greedy and block too much, or because they try and dodge when they don't need to, or they try and hand off to another player, or throw and catch, and it fails, then they technically have stalled, and they would be eligible to be punished.
Of course that happens.
Classic. So this is why we still have to reroll, because we have to snake this now. Okay, we didn't snake it.
So with the sidelines being closer in, so it's like a sevens pitch almost,
Yeah.
and with the anti-stalling, is there any other rules we need to be knowing about?
Within within the actual game itself, not so much. It's more the kickoff events and the complications they can cause for the actual receiving
Hmm.
of the ball. So in the previous instance, you played up the ball um, after you made the blocks, but now I can clarify what would happen if that wasn't the case. So you could go straight to the ball when it's being scattered away, as it were.
Right.
Um, and you can only do this with one player, but they can chase the ball down, and they have up to 2 full rounds from both players to achieve this and bring it back in. At that point, the ball becomes live, irrespective of where it ended up.
Okay.
So you would have been licensed to take that one player, for example, that went to go and get the ball initially, out of the initial grounds to receive the ball where it currently isn't live, but will be live. If that isn't too complicated to sound.
Hmm.
Um, Meanwhile, all you have to do is run with that one player, then end turn, and that signals to me, the kicking team, that I'm to end turn until you reach it within those two
Ah, got you.
turns.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense?
you
So
do end up skipping a few turns here and there, don't you? With the surfing
exactly,
and the getting the ball. So what happens if
which is
I
another reason why we don't want to stall.
what happens if I do a pass and the pass goes out? So hopefully he picks it
Perfect.
up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this would simply just be a case of if the ball scatters, or it scatters from the throw, it doesn't actually matter. It's the same rule, all the same.
Had to work, didn't it?
Yeah, but in this case, if it didn't scatter, that's also fine. But if it does scatter out, then the play instantly becomes live
Right. Okay.
on where the ball is. It's basically just that extra row gets added. So if that was the case, say you were one click over, I would now have access to this entire channel
Okay.
down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, I would want to attack the ball, which I wouldn't be able to do from there. But I could come around this way even, and then try and surf you out. So
So
if you were one over, then it would be like this. I can show you where I would be able to go.
yeah.
I would be able to attack the ball from here,
Okay.
but obviously then I wouldn't be able to surf you. So I would have to knock you down. But there's every chance that the ball scatters then back into the main central play, and then you are remaining like you'd be surfed off technically. If that
What?
makes
So
any
like
sense.
if my man is standing out and the ball
Yeah,
scatters in, am I now off the pitch and I can't come back on?
correct.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So it does create a kind of a stranger danger approach for like you don't really want to be leaving your units on the edge of the playing surface when the ball is live in a situation where it's not usually.
All right.
Does that make sense? Because it gives the opportunity to the opposition to react to that and make a play on it, if that makes sense.
Do you want to do another kick-off event and see if another situation gets brought up? So like
So
blitzes and perfect defense and all stuff like that. That's all still the same.
yeah, and these don't really get affected much by this mode, which is good. The movement of one unit as well, quick step, also is just normal. You,
Okay.
you basically you can chase after the ball, but you can't go out of bounds. You can move away from contact, or you can move into further into contact, or beyond contact. Totally up to you. You can do all that. One thing I
Oh,
would
what?
highly recommend with this mode is that you save your settings for your setups for both defense and offense.
Oh,
It
good
will make
idea.
things a lot easier to not have to go through the process, especially if we are doing 1 minute turns.
Yeah.
You will not like the setup if that is the case. Having to do that every time.
Oh,
Just remember to save it the first time you do it. You can do that in a friendly match, like we're doing here. You can do that locally, so you don't have to find a friend to set it up. You can do it in your own client and then save the settings, and that should help quite enormously, I think.
yeah. Save a bit. Yeah. 1 minute turns. That'd be interesting. Although it's only 7 players, so
Yeah, it's not too difficult, but it's still potentially rough. I mean, I'm just going to do it now, and it's still going to take me about half, which is not impossible, but it's also difficult enough.
So I try to make the ball go out, but not go off the pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Perfect defense. So the ball might well scatter out here.
Okay. So that's
But
quite
it
good
should be fairly simple.
because I didn't get a blitz. So
Yeah. Oh, there we go. We've got it done it. Yeah. So it's
right,
scattered in.
didn't go out.
So something I could technically do here as well is I could come to meet you. I would just push everyone off. Oh, lovely.
Why didn't you push him off?
Because I can't.
Oh,
Strictly
right.
speaking,
Okay.
This is a good point to make then at this point.
Yeah.
So what I can do is I can shove this guy closer to the line.
Yeah. But if you've
But
got
what
the
I
choice
can't
not
do-
to surf him on that line, then you
But I'm
don't
not
surf him.
able to. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if I could surf him, then I should. But I can't surf him unless it's the only option to do so.
I understand. Yeah.
So I've got a whole bunch of one dice blocks. Interesting. So what I really want to do is I want to push this guy. But here's an example. I could push this guy back one. I could use the guy who's 3 in to push sideways.
Yeah. Press
follow.
the skull because I think I know what you mean. I can just demonstrate it. Oh no.
So if,
Well, I think I
if
can, yeah,
your
yeah.
guy was pushed back, then I could push twice on the guy who's just inside, and force an instant surf from my second in. So I go the far outside, then third inside, then second inside, and all with the aim of pushing your second unit from from the outside to be surfed, which is all doable.
Okay. I'll hopefully be able to show you something here. We shall see. Is that going to work?
3 dodges.
Oh, come on.
Crunch.
Right, so, can you see my screen?
I'm checking it on the Discord, yeah?
Okay. So, if I was to like somehow come around and blitz here, from here onto this guy.
Yeah.
So I can push him off the pitch.
Yeah.
He can go off and he gets pushed there, and then I can use this guy to push that guy off the pitch as well.
Off the field as well. Yeah.
Because he's there isn't the option.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So if I try to do a blitz now,
What we're probably going to find in this mode is there's going to be an awful lot of fun chain blocking going on. It's going to be a lot of fun.
alright.
Um,
My concern is the just the skipping turns. Like I can see skipping turns becoming a bit of an issue.
yeah. I mean, you're perfectly licensed if you're the receiving team to not go after the ball straight away, and subsequently not have the how do we put it? Not having that penalty, as it were, of losing turns. So, but the option is there in the kicking teams.
What, should I dodge or do not use? Because if I do not use it,
You're licensed to dodge. That's fine because
okay.
you are also going to be off the field and out of a tackle zone. So I
Right.
would recommend that you actually just dodge it.
yeah.
It doesn't really make any difference. As the attacking team, I can't enforce you to automatically lose an injury roll. You
Yeah.
get an armor roll in this surf, this surf within our game mode here, that you wouldn't get if you were surfed properly.
Yeah.
So it's safer anyway. It's
And
less
some
of a
people
worry.
have it on automatic dodge as well, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have we got everything covered there? We've done the passing. We
I think we're
did.
pretty much there. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Do you have any
Right.
other questions before we start up on the end?
What I'm going to suggest now is I will stop the recording, and then we'll give everybody an option if they want to watch a competitive game, and I'll give you a competitive game after. Have you got time for a game? Have you?
Yeah, definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I can record that game and we can be chatting throughout it. So if people want to watch, us try to play to win, then we can do that.
That sounds good.
Alright, so I'm going to end this here, and hopefully it wasn't too long-winded, and hopefully it all made sense, and maybe see you in the next video.